Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Michelle here from happyhealthyher.com. And this week's compassionate chat is going to be short and sweet, hopefully. I'm here in my yoga space. Last week was on my porch. Previously I've been in my living room. I guess we're just doing an exploration of my tiny little house. Maybe we'll be in the bathroom next time. We'll see. But today I want to expand on last week's chat on falling in love with your life. And so we're going to discuss 4 of the simple shifts that will save your life. Now, that's a bit of a dramatic title, I must admit, but the things I'm about to share have totally kept me sane and have helped me heal during the hardest periods of my life, including recovering from narcissistic abuse following a divorce, having anxiety and autoimmune conditions, and dealing with the grief of multiple losses. So diving right in, the first thing that can potentially save your life if you can shift into this energy is embracing and having a great sense of humor. I think it's probably not that hard to see that when you can laugh at some of life's worst scenarios, that it's a lot easier to handle them. The energy of humor is very light and buoyant, and it keeps us in our joy. It shifts us out of the darker energies like grief and trauma and anger or sadness. Humor it lifts us up. Similar to joy and love that we discussed in the last video, humor is going to lighten your load and lighten your outlook. I am super grateful that I grew up in a super funny family. Both of my parents had an excellent sense of humor. My mom, who is approaching her 90th birthday this year, her 91st birthday, I should say, has an exceptional sense of humor. She's sharp as a tack, and she is very unfiltered. My dad had a really dirty sense of humor, and he was just silly and always laughing and always giggling. And my sister and I and my extended family all really have great sense of humor and the ability to laugh at things. And when we're all together as a family, I mean, it's just nonstop laughter. So when my dad passed in 2014, this was something that I really clung to, was sense of humor. My mom had asked my sister and I to come to Florida to be with her for his memorial. And you would think, well, that would be a really terrible, really sad visit. But it wasn't. It was so much fun because my sister and my mother and I got to reminiscing, and we were constantly sharing family stories and things that made us laugh. And I'm someone who's always into signs, and it was so clear to me that my dad from the other side was sending us all these messages and signs. And just one silly thing, the first morning we were there, we were all sitting in my mom's breakfast nook, which overlooks out to an outdoor area. And this ginormous bug, is a Florida bug. So I live in New England and we don't have bugs like this, but it was like crazy big, was like creeping up the window, and we were like shrieking and laughing, but ultimately we were like, okay, there's no way Dad didn't send that, because it was just like awesome comic relief. And the thing is, when we are going through struggles, looking to the lighthearted nature of things is really, really healing. And it really bonds us with other people too. Having a shared sense of humor and having like inside jokes is a deep way to connect with other people, which connecting to other people in itself can be very healing for us. So one of the things I like to say as a mantra when things are going bad, and when I was at my worst and things were constantly going bad, it almost seemed like a comedy of errors at times. And I used to just say all the time, "You've got to be kidding me." And sometimes I still say this, and even when I say that, it lightens the load. It makes me feel a little bit better about things. And so I would suggest you come up with your own mantra. You can use that one, or you can come up with something else that just makes you laugh and shift you out of a negative position. The other thing about sense of humor and smiling and laughing that is really has a scientific basis to it is that when we smile or laugh, we're lifting the corners of our mouth and we're actually helping to stimulate the vagus nerve, which is one of the largest nerves in our nervous system. And it is responsible for calming us. And so if you have been through a lot of trauma, a lot of disorienting, difficult situations, your vagus nerve, learning how to calm your vagus nerve can be super healing. It's very powerful in healing and lifting yourself out of trauma. It's one of the things I focus on in my course, Free from Narcissists. I talk about how if you can incorporate vagus nerve exercises, massage, or even just laughing and smiling regularly as a practice. Like even when you're on your commute, and I know this sounds silly, but keeping a big grin on your face. If you're doing difficult exercise, I find when I'm holding a yoga pose that's particularly hard, if I smile, I can hold it longer. It's kind of this magical energy of having more capacity. And there's scientific studies about this, that when you smile, you're releasing endorphins and you're actually sort of promoting a sense of calm and safety in your body. So do not overlook this. It is not just a silly, simple thing. Surround yourself with people who make you laugh. Watch funny shows, watch funny movies, really nurture that piece of yourself, especially if you're going through difficult times, because it'll help you get through them more easily. The second piece that will shift you and help you to save your life and be more toward healing is if you embrace the wonder and awe of life. Now, these are words that I had never heard before until I was just finishing up my master's degree in integrative healing, which was at this point over 12 years ago. And one of the program directors, who's a very, very smart man, multiple PhDs, his name's Andrew Suma, he had mentioned in a lecture one day that what we are all trying to do and encourage in each other and in ourselves is a sense of wonder and awe. And that just spoke to me so much, because that as an overarching theme is sort of like saying, pay attention to the beauty and the magic in life, because there is wonder and awe. There are things that are beautiful and amazing all around us if we stop and we pay attention. You see this kind of thing in nature all the time. We just had it this weekend. We're having unprecedented electromagnetic energy that is causing auroras to come up in places where we've never seen them before. So I was having sort of an interesting situation this weekend where I was so bummed because I didn't see the auroras. And Friday night, I fell asleep. I'm actually super sensitive to the solar flares, and we were having an amazing amount of solar flares. And so when I fell asleep, I was out and I didn't get up. And so I missed it. The next day, though, I saw people in my town had posted pictures. So I was like, wow, they were clearly there, but it was very cloudy. And like I said, I missed them. Saturday, I set my alarm for every hour after 12. I went to bed around 12, but I kept waking up. Nothing. So I was so disappointed. And Sunday, which happened to be Mother's Day, I was kind of bummed about that. And I was talking to my partner about it during dinner, and I was just like, I wish I could see them. I hope I can see them maybe magically tonight, meaning Sunday, even though the electromagnetics had died down and it was unlikely. But I started to see the energy outside shifting. And I ran outside and I could see there was the start of this beautiful sunset, which where I live, I am so blessed. I asked for this before I moved into my house. I asked the universe, please give me a home with beautiful sunsets. And when I walked onto the porch of my home the very first time, I knew I had found my place, and it has been wonderful ever since. And so I have all these amazing sunsets, which I actually oftentimes document in my Instagram if that's something you're interested in. But a daily sunset or a sunrise is one of the most magical ways to stimulate your sense of wonder and awe. So Sunday, I'm out looking at this sunset, It looked like there was a heart above the sun, which I see hearts everywhere, and that made me super excited. And then I kind of noticed it actually looked a little bit like an angel. And I go into the front yard, and there is this full rainbow, and there's like pink clouds all around, and it was like so amazing. I was absolutely losing it. Of course, I called my partner, come out, you have to see this. And it was like super exciting for me. So took a bunch of pictures, also on Instagram. The pictures don't do it justice at all. So I go back into the backyard, and the sunset is just morphing. It's getting more and more brilliant, and the colors were actually like electric. And I'm looking at them, and I'm getting so moved, I started to cry, because I realized, I was like, you know, you're looking for the auroras, and here is this thing, here is this sunset that's just as good. It's just as powerful. It's just as magical. It's just a little bit different. And so I could see that and appreciate it. And when you live like that, with the ability to have wonder and awe move through you, with the ability to just feel your senses and look at beauty and be really moved, which, you know, this is something that a lot of empaths have, this gift. This is one of the biggest blessings of actually being a sensitive person or an empath, is that you do have sort of this fine-tuned ability to kind of see the nuances of magic all around you in nature. But we can all cultivate this. We can all look for it. It means even looking for signs in your day-to-day life, songs on the radio, number patterns that have a significance to you, even memes showing up on Facebook. If the universe wants to speak to you, it will speak to you in whatever way it can get through. And so you will get messages from Spirit in a variety of different ways, including Facebook, YouTube videos, emails, anything that comes your way. So pay attention. I think that this really does shift us toward healing. And even when you pay attention, sometimes you're getting information about how to best heal yourself. I mean, we had teachers in my master's degree program who reflected on the fact that they picked up books one day and turned to a page and found a remedy listed on this page that they had never seen in a book that they didn't even remember having. And that remedy was the very remedy they needed to heal whatever it was they had at the time. I've had very similar situations where I suddenly had an awareness of what I needed to do to heal. When I left my marriage, as hard as that was, as absolutely devastating as it was, I knew I had to do it to heal. I knew that I was stuck and had a lot of negative energy around me. The only way I was going to get better was to leave that. And so you need to be able to see things around you and be really open to the messages so that you get on the right healing path. The third thing that can always save your life is gratitude. Now, I've talked about gratitude several times before, including the dangers of gratitude, because there is a dark side, of course, of all things. But mostly gratitude is super powerful. It's what helps us let the magic in. It's what lets us sort of appreciate all of the things that are happening around us. So we got the wonder and awe, and then we have the gratitude that kind of seals the deal. You can do this in a daily practice. I've talked about this before, that I do this now as I have a gratitude journal that I write in either in the morning or at night, and sometimes both. And it helps me reflect on all the amazing things I have. And when you get into that headspace, you attract more amazing things, and you actually notice more amazing things. You become super aware. What we focus on, we attract and we notice. And so when you're grateful and you're looking at everything with a grateful mind, you will actually have way more things to be grateful for. It's super powerful and so healing. It's part of the healing shift that we all need to kind of do to get us to higher alignment. The fourth thing, and this is actually probably the most important, but I saved it for last so that we can kind of dive in a little bit deeper, and that is humility. Keeping a beginner's mind is essential. the bottom line with this is we don't know what we don't know. And life is in constant flux and change and evolution. And we have to be open to new information and new perspectives, especially when it comes to our own healing and evolution. Because oftentimes we're too close to our situations to see how they are affecting us. When I was actually in narcissistic relationships, I couldn't see that I was in them. It wasn't actually until I was out of them that I could look back and go, oh my gosh, what the heck? I was being abused. I was being emotionally manipulated. It's really, really hard to see things if you are too close to it. And if you get your ego attached to your outcome. You know, when we are in a relationship that's hard, sometimes our ego is fighting what we already know in our body and intuition. We might know we need to leave a situation, but it's so hard to do that our ego says, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. You have to let go of ego and have a very humble state if you want to evolve and change and grow and ultimately heal. If you told me 8 years ago that me leaving, when I had just left my marriage and I was feeling so terrible about myself and I was so sick and fatigued and still having some issues with anxiety and having lots of digestive stuff, if I told you or if someone told me that I was going to be where I am now 8 years ago, I don't think I could believe it. I mean, I had hope that it would happen, but I don't think I could ever believe it because what I have now is so different. I have a much stronger awareness of my body. I know how to protect my energies better. I know I'm super sensitive and I still get wiped out all the time, but I'm super aware of that. I know the whys of it. I know how it happens and I can track it all and I can trust my intuition. And I know too, with this humility thing, that I am part of this whole piece. I'm not in a victim stance anymore. I'm taking full accountability for my life and what's happening and how I show up. And that is super powerful. That is like the best way to heal is to step out of attachment and ego and sort of surrender to the fact that I don't really know what might be the next path. And so sort of letting the universe and people who are our helpful guides support us, that's sometimes what we really need to make that shift that will ultimately heal us and grow and save our life. So as always, I hope this information helped or supported you. And if it did, please go ahead and hit the like and consider sharing it or subscribing. Next week's Compassionate Chat is going to be a two-parter on narcissism. So if that's something you're interested in, ultimately healing from narcissism, but if that is something that does interest you, go ahead and subscribe or be on the lookout because that's coming soon. As always, I wish you good health and happiness. Thanks for being with me.